She was cleaning the rifle bay until a SEAL placed his rifle in her hands and stepped back. She wasn't on the roster, didn't wear a uniform, no rank, no nameplate, just a quiet woman in the corner of a military rifle bay, cleaning weapons no one else could fix. Most thought she was just a contractor, until the day a Navy SEAL 20 years and placed his rifle in her hands and stepped back. No orders, no words. Just 3 words that silenced the entire room. Let her finish. What happened next? It changed everything they thought they knew about trust, legacy, and the cost of failure. This story will stay with you. Subscribe now for more true-to-life military stories that reveal the quiet heroes we never see coming. She isn't in uniform, isn't on the clipboard. No locker, no nameplate, no rank patch on her shoulder. Just a quiet presence in the far left corner of the rifle bay. Head down, sleeves rolled, hands moving. She came with the new contract cycle part of a civilian subcontractor package meant to increase efficiency in support roles. That's what the email said. Efficiency. Nobody paid her much attention. Not really. No introduction briefing. No call sign. No vetting huddle. She just appeared one Monday morning, unpacked her own toolkit, and sat at an empty workstation near the disposal bin. The rifles that landed on her bench weren't routine jobs. They were the problems, the ones that had been tagged twice, maybe 3 times. MK-18s with bolt carrier groups that wouldn't cycle clean. SCAR heavies whose upper receivers ground down into misalignment. Designated marksman rifles with optics that just felt off when guys brought them back from the range. Gear that got passed around until someone gave up. Until someone said, just log it, dump it, move on. That's when she took them. No request, no comment. Just picked them up, laid them flat, and got to work. No one really watched her. She didn't move loudly, didn't speak up. No casual range banter, no complaints about poor maintenance logs or stripped screws. But the way she held the tools, not delicate, not clumsy, just exact. Like someone who knew what failure felt like and had no patience for anything less than flawless. A few noticed the pace, the way she reassembled a gas assembly without checking diagrams, how she tuned recoil springs by feel, how she listened to alignment clicks like a mechanic listens to a misfire. Not fast, not flashy, just right. Still, no one asked. No one said thank you. And when the weapon was fixed, actually fixed, she didn't look up, just tagged it, slid it across the steel tray, and picked up the next. No rank to salute, no credentials to validate, no reason for them to pay attention. So they didn't. Because she was just a contractor. And the ones who work in the quiet? They're easy to miss. The rifle bay breathes noise. Not chaos, just rhythm. Click of charging handles. Slap of bolts seating forward. The mutter of seasoned operators, debating optic drift, round dispersion, trigger creep. Some lean against benches, coffee in one hand, a stripped-down rifle in the other. They argue over lubricant grades, mock old upgrades, trade stories about weapons that saved them and those that nearly didn't. It's a familiar noise, necessary noise, but not everywhere. In the far corner, her bench doesn't hum, it listens. No music piped from a phone, no running commentary on spring tension, no tossed jokes about babying your gun like it's a damn race car. Just the sound of cloth on steel, metal being coaxed back into form, movements that barely register to the eye. She doesn't contribute to the dialogue. Don't interrupt. Don't laugh when someone overtorques a rail and strips a screw head. She hears them a every joke, every gripe, every exhale of frustration when a rifle fails function check. But she responds to none of it, because her conversation is with the weapons. To most, a fracture in the upper is a manufacturing defect. To her, it's the mark of overpressure. An inconsistent cycle rate isn't just a mechanical flaw, it's a whisper from the rifle about something deeper. Too much heat. Bad maintenance in the theater. A user who doesn't understand the soul of the platform. She doesn't look at spec sheets. She listens. She runs her fingers along the buffer tube, feeling for micro burrs. Taps the barrel with her fingernail, judging resonance like a tuning fork. Watch how recoil springs fall under gravity's pull knot, just if they compress. But how? She reads wear patterns like topography. Knows when a gouge is cosmetic, and when it's the edge of failure. Where others swap parts, she restores. Not because it's easier, because it's right. Around her, the world talks in decibels. At her bench, everything is signal. Everything is a story. And that's the difference. Most of the bay hears sound. But at her station, just beneath it all, silence does the speaking. Her badge reads, Armory Support Technician. Plastic laminate. Barcode scan. No rank, no service branch. Just a name most haven't bothered to learn, and a job title vague enough to mean anything. Nobody asked where she came from. Contractors cycle through the rifle bay, all the time-temp labor, on a defense subcontract, usually shuffled in through lowest bid staffing agencies. Some last a week, some last a day, none leave a mark. Except she's still here, still in that corner, still fixing weapons no one else wants to touch. Jake Thompson notices first. He's the lead armorer, 23 years in uniform, 12 of those spent training others to follow procedure to the decimal point. Jake doesn't miss much. He's not paranoid, just practiced. And her presents quiet, constant, surgical starts to itch at the edge of something he can't name. He watches her one afternoon. Watch how she breaks down a malfunctioning 110. Not the usual method, not even regulation, but fast, fluid, borderline clinical. He doesn't interrupt, don't question it. But that night, after the bay closes, he pulls up her file. No enlistment record, no listed branch of service, no military school, no formal certifications, just clearance. Clearance levels that don't match her role. Clearance that's 3 steps above what's required to even touch half the gear she's fixing. She shouldn't be on site. Not with that badge. Not with that access. Unless someone, somewhere, vouched for her in a way that skipped protocol and bypassed standard vetting. Jake scrolls deeper, finds redacted lines, names missing, training dates scrubbed or labeled non-standard pathway. There's no discharge papers, no DD 214, just a line that reads, Status, Civilian Contractor, Access, Tier 4, Prior Designation, Field Embedded. He stops there, not because he's found everything, but because he knows exactly what not finding things means. Some people earn clearance by climbing ladders. Others walk through locked doors because they've already been inside. Jake knows the difference. And now, every time he sees her, he doesn't see a contractor anymore. He sees a decision someone else made. The kind of decision that only happens when life once depended on what she could do with a broken rifle in her hands. The MK-18 slammed onto the tray with the kind of thud that says don't bother. Custom build. Cerakoted, laser-etched, finely tuned for a desert op that never happened. And now? Locked, fused with carbon from a suppressor that had seen too many full auto days without a proper soak. Every crevice gunked, bolt group seized, charging handle frozen halfway back like it had tried to give up and got stuck mid-prayer. The lead armorer gave it one look. Sighed. Nope. Too risky. Too custom. It wasn't just about repair, it was about liability. You push too hard on a rifle like that, something shears, something warps. And you're not just eating crow, you're replacing parts that took 6 months of approvals to even install. He walked away, tagged it, logged it. Non-repairable pending consult. She didn't say anything. Didn't offer. Just waited until they weren't looking. Slid it down the steel bench, aligned it under her lamp. The carbon was deep. deep enough that it looked like the rifle had been stored in a fire. But she didn't flinch, didn't reach for a scraper, didn't grab solvent or ultrasonic baths. She opened her kit, not the standard contractor issue case with Allen keys and nylon picks. Something else. Worn leather, snap buckles. She unfolded it like it had been folded 1,000 times, like hands long ago had trained hers on how to unwrap it without spilling memory. Inside was a tool no one else used. Hand-shaped steel. Offset curve. Burnished from time and pressure. It wasn't built, it was forged. She didn't look up, just braced the rifle, found the jam by touch, and began reverse picking it. Delicate work. Microscopic angles. Pressure just enough to fracture the buildup without scoring the metal beneath. One misstep and you mar the receiver. 1 ounce too much torque and you shear the bolt face. She didn't miss. Not once. When she was done, she rebuilt the gas block with a torque sequence that wasn't in any manual but worked better than the one that was. Replaced one spring. Tuned the extractor lip with a shim no one saw her add. Then she cycled it. Twice. And the bolt locked back so clean it sounded like a breath exhaled in relief. She tagged it. Didn't brag. Didn't wait for thanks. Just reached for the next wreck someone had already given up on. Marcus Rivera doesn't speak when he walks into the rifle bay. He never has to. Operators feel him before they see him. 20 years in the teams will do that. He's not the loud one, not the guy cracking jokes near the parts bin. He's the one who moves like the floor's mapped into his bones, who strips and reassembles a weapon like he's drawing breath. He doesn't tolerate errors, don't allow excuses, doesn't hand over his rifle. Not ever. Today, he stands just inside the doorway. Watch the usual rhythm. Grunts, chatter, tools pinging steel trays. And in the back, like always, her. No name on her bench, no clipboard assigned, no one hovers near her. But he's seen what comes from her bench. Weapons that went in twitchy come out smooth. Optics that were drifting return zeroed. No flare, no explanation, just fixed. He doesn't walk straight toward her. He waits, watches, observes like he would in country quiet, focused, reading the scene for tells. She's working a lower receiver with gloves off. Her hands are fast but not rushed. Deliberate, sure, not mechanical intimate, like she knows the weapon's history better than the operator who carried it. She doesn't look up, doesn't notice him, or maybe she does, but decides he isn't the priority. That tells him more than any resume ever could. He sees how she tests spring tension with thumb pressure and fingertip recoil. Watch her discard a new buffer detent for one she pulls from a side, pouch holder, cleaner, better tempered. Not guessing, knowing. He steps forward, slowly. No drama. Unslinging his own rifle. It's not standard. Built over years, customized with parts no one touches but him. He hasn't let another soul field strip it in 6 years. She finally looks up. Just once. Just long enough to meet his eyes. He sets it down on her tray. Backs away. Not a word of instruction. Not a warning. No disclaimer. Just one sentence, spoken low, and even so, every operator nearby hears it. Let her finish. And the bay goes still. The rifle bay has its own cadence. Tools clicking, slides snapping forward, low mutter of operators talking shop while torquing optics into zero. It's noise, that comforts noise that means everything is running like it should. Until Rivera says it. 3 words, measured, quiet. But they don't land like an order. They land like a detonator. Let her finish. And the room stops breathing. One by one, heads lift. Not fast slow. The kind of slow that means everyone's recalculating what they just heard. Not what it means. What it must mean. Coming from him. A SEAL doesn't hand over his rifle. Especially that rifle. Especially to someone who doesn't wear the same flag on her shoulder. No trident. No service record. No unit patch. Just a contractor badge and a silence most misread as irrelevance. Someone near the front snorts. "You serious?" The kind of laugh meant to deflect the discomfort. The kind that comes when the room doesn't have a script to follow. But no one joins in. Because Rivera isn't joking. He's standing 6 feet back from his own weapon, arms crossed. Not guarding, not watching for failure. Just waiting. Confidence, certain. And she? She doesn't flinch, doesn't soak in the spotlight. Don't look around for permission. She just picks up the rifle. Like it's any other job. Like the weight of it hasn't shifted the entire dynamic of the bay. And she begins. Hands steady. Sequence clean. Not rushed, but fluent. She knows where each component lives, where tolerances hide, where failure begins its slow crawl toward the surface. There's no commentary, no questions. Because no one wants to interrupt whatever this is now. The room, once loud with certainty, now holds its breath. Not because of her, but because of him. Because Riveracom, deliberate, absolute, stepped back. And in doing so, made everyone else see her for the first time. The rifle doesn't look broken. That's the problem. To the untrained eye, it's pristine. Receiver clean, coating unblemished, gas system intact. But something's off. Rivera knows it. So does she. She doesn't plug it into diagnostics. Don't check the usual suspects. No bore scope. No digital reader. Just her hands. Her ears. She lifts the MK-10 like she's picking up a confession. It turns out, tilts it, and taps the gas block with the soft edge of her middle knuckle. Once. Then again. Different pressures. Different angles. The sound it gives back is wrong. Not flat. Not sharp, just off. A resonance problem. Not enough for a malfunction now, but enough to guarantee one later. Failure in waiting. The kind that only shows up when you're 15 rounds deep, zeroed in at range, trigger breaking, and everything matters. She hums once under her breath, barely audible. Then, I started working. Not with a wrench, not with a mallet. With a pick, a shim, a tool worn from decades of pressure. She's not correcting a problem. She's finding the thread of it, following it back to where something microscopic started to matter. Microfracture under the gas block, somewhere in the seat. Too small to feel, too deep to see. But she hears it. She knows it. Rivera stands 5 feet away, arms folded, jaw slack. He doesn't say a word. Doesn't need to. He's seen expert work before. He's seen master armorers rebuild suppressors under blackout. Watched gunsmiths cut custom barrels in active war zones. But this isn't talent. This is something else. This is what happens when your skill is the last thing between someone you care about and never coming home. It's the kind of knowing that comes from failure. From carrying the weight of a jammed bolt in a dead man's rifle. From waking up years later and still hearing the sound it didn't make. She finishes the repair. Don't test it. I don't need to. Just wipes it clean, lays it down. Rivera watches her walk away. And he knows. This is history. And she's been living in its silence longer than anyone realized. Thompson doesn't go looking for answers. Not at first. He's been around too long to chase rumors. But something's been bothering him. The way she fixes things without hesitation. The way operators reel one shaft started bringing her their gear without being told. The way Rivera stood back. That doesn't happen unless someone knows. Unless someone's seen something they can't explain and trust takes the place of policy. So that night, long after the bay has gone quiet and the steel trays have cooled, he unlocks his terminal. Pulls up her file. At first glance, it's thin. Too thin. No MOS. No basic. No service branch attached. Just civilian contractor. Armory support technician. Underneath that, a clearance tag that doesn't belong. Tier 4. Access. Classified equipment authorization. 3 levels higher than anyone else on the floor. He scrolls deeper. There are sections that don't load. Redactions inside redactions. Training blocks marked NSC pathway exempt from standard verification. And then a single line that makes him stop breathing. Former SOTB, Field Armorer, retired, not discharged. Thompson leans back, stares at it. There's only one acronym that is tight. Special Operations Team Black. Not a school, not a unit. A shadow, a name whispered in intel circles, never written in ink. He's heard rumors. Kandahar. A blackout op gone sideways. 2 teams compromised. Extraction scrambled. Intel corrupted. And a rifle that failed to cycle. One jam. One bad timing sequence. And people didn't come home. He doesn't know if she was there. No one does. But when he thinks about how she touches the steel, how she listens for failure like it still breathes under the surface, he wonders. Maybe she's not just good. Maybe she's haunted. Not by ghosts, but by a sound she didn't hear in time. By a bolt that didn't slam forward when it mattered most. By the unrelenting math of cause and consequence, written in blood. And now she's here, in the corner of a rifle bay, fixing what others miss. Not for praise. Not for redemption. Just because she still remembers what it costs when you get it wrong. A week goes by. The rifle bay still hums with its usual rhythm tools clinking, bolts, cycling, jokes traded like ammo. But around her bench, the air is different. Not quieter, just more aware. Operators still talk, still moving, still grind through repairs, like always. But now, when they pass her station, they glance. Some nod, some don't. But the way they set their rifles down careful, deliberate tells you everything. She never asked for their trust, never tried to earn it out loud. But rifles don't lie, and what comes back from her bench doesn't just work. It performs. Failures that couldn't be diagnosed come back running cleaner than factory spec. Trigger groups, she never said she touched, feel smoother. Optics that were close enough suddenly hold 0 across elevation. No declarations, no explanation. Just results. Stacked, silent, undeniable. And now, the hard cases come straight to her. The ones others gave up on. Weapons marked deadlined. She takes them without comment. Logs them by hand, not barcode. Fixes them by feel, not instruction. No one interrupts. And then one morning, before the bay opens, a crate arrives. Unmarked. Plain wood. Military cut. Reinforced corners. Jake opens it. Stop moving. Inside, a custom-built display rack. Mahogany, sanded to silk. Steel braces. Reinforced with anodized framing you'd normally see in aircraft mounts. Professional. Clean. Intentional. And in the center, Rivera's rifle. Fully restored. Every part reassembled to his original tolerances. Not a single unauthorized modification. Just better. Refined. Balanced. Like it had passed through fire and come out smarter. Below it, a small brass plate. No logo. No name. No fanfare. It reads, "Let her finish." Not a slogan, not a tribute. Just a moment, captured in metal. The moment a room full of trained warfighters stopped talking and listened. Not to a command, not to a rank, but to trust, demonstrated in silence. She never mentions it, never look at the rack. She just keeps working. Same quiet movements, same worn tools. But now, when she reaches for the next broken rifle, no one doubts she'll bring it back better than it was. She doesn't take breaks with the others. Don't stand in the smoking circle out back or linger by the vending machines. She's not part of the routine. Never was. The others talk about deployments, about gear, about the things that make noise in memory and need to be spoken out loud. She doesn't interrupt, doesn't insert herself, Just walk past when needed. Quiet. Always quiet. But they move now. Not out of deference. Out of recognition. Not one of them can name her background. Not a single one knows what patch she wore before the silence. But they all know what they saw. A man like Marcus Rivera, 20 years in, not prone to ceremony, handing over the one thing he never let anyone else touch. That kind of trust doesn't get explained. It gets noticed. Since that day, the Bay feels different. No one said it, no one needed to. But the hierarchy shifted subtly, irrevocably. Now when gear gets weird, when recoil is inconsistent, or function tests come back clean but the weapon still feels wrong, they walk past 2 benches, turn the corner, and leave it with her. She doesn't ask for details, doesn't need the story. She runs her hand along the metal. Listen to what it says. There's no plaque above her bench, no commendation on a wall, just a pile of weapons others had given up on, all working again. Better than they were. Sometimes better than they'd ever been. The rack in the corner holds Rivera's rifle like it's part of the room's structure now. Like it always belonged. No signature, no spotlight. Just a reminder in brass. Let her finish. And she does. Every time. Because what she fixes isn't just steel and carbon fouling. It's what failure leaves behind. It's what no one else wants to touch. She doesn't raise her voice. She raises standards. And the ones who used to walk past her without looking, now they step back. Not for her badge. Not for her clearance. But because one man saw what she was. And the rest learned to see it too.